You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Chris G and Reality Rayna. What being neurodiverse can teach you about finding love now. Ladies, welcome. In the words, doesn't Dak Shepard say that? Welcome. But I'm not Dak Shepard. I have such amazing people here with me today. I have the usual suspect, Mr. Chris Gillis.
Hello.
This is where we need our sound effects person to do that. If you're at home, Great. Clap. And then also in the house today, we have Reality Rayna, who is all things reality, dating, reality shows, and also happens to be my daughter and is a really active member of our, we used to call it Bachelor Nation in a nutshell, but low key, we just called it the core. So if you're in Bachelor Nation in a nutshell, now you know that there's another group. Okay.
Yeah, you're not part of
okay. So we're here. So first of all, it's big time. We're recording this. It is the beginning of summer officially. We are getting ready next week for Love Island is premiering, Bachelorette with 2 bachelorettes so we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. We did a lot of fun reviews this spring with The Ultimatum. What else did we do, Chris? Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. Yep.
And today we're going to recap it. I binged this hard in like 2 days, and It is one of my favorites, and it is the U.S. version of Love on the Spectrum, which I think has so much to teach people who are neurotypical and dating. Chris, why do you love this show so much?
I think this might be my favorite one, actually, of all of them.
Me too.
I am. I know what it is. I'm obsessed with the truth, and these guys cannot help but tell the truth. And I just love it. They're so fantastic. It's so incredibly authentic and real and vulnerable. All that shit, all that pulling teeth stuff that you were normally like screaming at TV when we're watching all these sexy Bachelor Nation people. These guys just can't help but just be this awesomely vulnerable, just truthful selves. And it gets so the juice gets to the top so quick, and and they say the fucking most hilarious things of all time. So I love it.
I love it too. Raina, what do you love about Love on the Spectrum?
I totally agree with Chris. I think it's the most genuine, pure, authentic form of quote unquote reality dating. It's so wholesome and so special also to just see these people like genuinely wanting true connections and true common interests.
Yeah, and I think the reason, if you've never watched this show and you're like, what does this have to do with me? I think what we want to talk about on this show today, Life Check Yourself, is that what's crazy to me is I was watching it and it's like these are the things that people who are neurotypical are 100% thinking. Some of you who are listening are making the same mistakes. It's just that in this show, they're like neon signs. And so you as the neurotypical observer can be like, I can't believe she's doing that. Or I can't believe he's saying that. Right. But the truth is that when we're dating and we are neurotypically, dating, we're doing the same stuff. It's just that nobody knows because it's all going on the inside. So I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. So the person I want to talk about first is Dani. Dani. So Dani is really high functioning, right? On the autism spectrum. She has her own business. I think she even went to business school.
Yeah, master's.
Yeah, she has a master's degree. She went to business school. She is really interested in animation. That's her passion. She teaches it. She creates animated characters. She's very successful, I think, even financially independent, maybe successful, but also on the spectrum. So when she goes into it, they always ask these people, what are you looking for? So we ask the same thing, of our clients, what are you looking for? So what was your experience of Dani? Let's start with Ray.
My experience of Dani was that she was very dead set on finding someone who was also had her main passion of animation.
Right.
And she just really wanted someone to connect with on that level. She really cared about the attractiveness of her partner.
Yes.
But she tried to, really get to know people for their personality first. And sometimes she succeeded and sometimes she failed.
That's so true. She not only did she want animation, but they also had to have a career.
Yeah.
Right? So they had to have a solid career. And make as much money as she did, right? And also good looking and share her passions. How different, Chris, is that from anyone else who's dating?
Right.
Who's not on the spectrum.
Right. No, she's like a typical overachiever. I mean, somebody when I've done these, probably like most of many of your clients, at least, in that the only thing they want is everything, and they're constantly looking. And I could tell she has very, very high standards and is hard on herself. And she just brings down that, I'm guilty of as well, that perfectionism, so that she has this fucking micro filter that nobody can pass through. It has to be everything. And I think what was really telling kind of sums up her stance on what she was looking for a partner. She goes, I just want a partner who is a perfect business partner and also like my best friend and a lover, all in one. It's like, that's all.
Yeah, that's all that I want. And so on the show, she goes on a first date with Solly, who is attractive. He's autistic, super high functioning, like her, it seems. He's going to college. I think he's getting an associate's degree. And they have crazy physical chemistry. What can Dani and Solly teach us about why that can get in our way if we just focus in on that amazing first date chemistry? Chris?
I think that, I wonder, because he really kind of jammed her radar. And I think that she also, it was like too much, it kind of threw her into a head spin where she's started. I mean, normally, her filter was completely off and her emotions just flowed and almost she broke down and said a bunch of things. The floodgates opened up. But I think what happened is, or what's going on, I don't think she put so much weight in her when she was talking about I need to be professional, blah, blah, blah. It was the physical chemistry wasn't up. I don't think she took into account on how, I guess on the important, understood the severity of it or what it could do. So what happened? It was just all physical. Everything was just too much for her. It
was too much. What I loved about that is, and this is what you said right at the beginning of the show, is she was really exhibiting what is going on in the heart and mind of every woman who's on a great date with a hot guy. Because she's saying out loud, I think I love you. Yeah, I think you're my person.
You're so hot. I love you.
Yeah, you're so hot. I love you.
The internal dialogue.
Yeah, the internal dialogue of an amazing first date is just she's saying it to Solly. And he's just hearing it going, oh my God, me too. I think you're my person. He's really into spirituality.
Oh,
which I loved about Solly. He was really loves the law of attraction. He's I think I manifested you.
Yeah.
Now here's where I was confused, and I think this is just an editing thing, but doesn't he say I want to work with autistic kids? Like I'm going to school. I want to work with autistic kids. And then she goes, yes, me too. I teach autistic kids animation or something. Did I miss that?
What do you mean you miss it?
That happened, right?
Yeah. That's what I remember happening.
Yeah. So then in the end, she just goes like, so what happens is like, they have this great chemistry. They kiss. They like kiss a lot. She goes home and then suddenly she's like, no, he's not for me.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did that happen?
2 dates, I think, right? Didn't they do 2 dates?
They did 2 dates and they were holding hands. They were so cute.
Yeah. And she realized, which is something to chat about. Yeah. That the first date, she completely, like I said, she was overwhelmed. So I think that's a huge message to all your daters out there to make sure, you have an abundance and you don't. Because you could tell she was so, what do you say, skin thirsty, right?
Yeah.
Just pouring the big gulp over her head of Solomon and is romancing and reciting Rumi and poetry to her. And it's like,
yeah. I mean, he brought her flowers. He did the whole thing.
I might, by the way, remember how she went to the bathroom or something and he goes, I wrote a poem for you. But clearly he had already written it down. He recited the poem for her and she was like, her eyes are like rolling back like a shark when he starts reading a poem. The guy he was amazing. He laid it on the romance on thick. And I think it kind of broke her professional brain on there. So good.
Yeah, to me, it felt like she put her guard up, because he did say that he was working with kids and going to school.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really important thing because when ladies are looking for love and they have these certain criteria, so we know that this guy has the chemistry attraction thing for Dani. And when we say we're looking for someone who's successful or whatever it is, we can sabotage it because when we start to feel vulnerable or we might get hurt, all of a sudden that filter gets so precise and our little brain that's afraid goes, oh, but wait, you don't have that career yet, or you're successful, but your 401k isn't big enough, or, right? And we can sabotage really great possibilities because we get emotionally attached or we get scared and then we start to filter them out because of that self-protection. And I think a lot of ladies who are listening might realize that you go on that date and the dialogue in your head is oh my God, this is the one. He's so hot. We had the best date ever. And by the second date, you're this is great. And then it's oh God, this is too good to be true. His friends are a little weird, or I found out he's not as successful or he's older than I thought. And it's
Do you think that was, this is what I meant to ask. Do you think that can be avoided by having fun with dating and not, putting all your eggs in one basket, don't not date every 30 years, like some of these people have done. You think that's why? You think that's a way to avoid it? You think this seems to be with a lot of these people. There's and that's what's so great. There's just so much pressure. And mind you, by the way, let's just give a little bit of freaking props. Can you guys imagine, Rayna, can you imagine going on your first date ever when you've never kissed a boy and your family's watching and there's a film crew following you around?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're so scared already. Oh my God.
I would freak out. And they had the most romantic across the table kiss too.
Yes. Can you freaking imagine that? The pressure. These guys are so brave. I just honestly got to throw it out there. These guys are so much braver than most neurotypical people that I know who dated. And just crazy props to them for putting themselves out there.
And the big term on all these shows is, are you in it for the right reasons? These people are literally in it for the right reasons. Their families are can you please help us? These people really, really, truly want this connection. So I think, what happens, and we're talking a lot about Dani because to me, again, it's the inner monologue that we have is just put out there. So she breaks up with Sully and then she goes on another date and she meets the guy who's supposed to be her dream guy, right? Because he is interested in animation. He's going to school for animation. He has a job for animation.
Does animation voices. They sit there and they speak and they quote all their favorite movies back and forth in different voices. And you're perfect, right? Game, it's a wrap. let's watch him get married and on to the next couple.
And what does Dani do? How does Dani sabotage the date? What was his name? Adon. What did happen, Rayna?
They went on their date. It was his first date.
Ever?
Yep. And
he admits that but he says, like, he shares on the first speed dating, like, I'm autistic too. Because Dani, which is really interesting, we should talk about this because one of the other characters does not share it on a first date. But Dani is like, on the first date, she's like, what do you know about autism?
Yeah.
And he's like, I do know a lot because I'm autistic too. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So they went on their first date. You'd think it was going well. They were breaking the ice, a little awkward, and then they got into it. But then she starts kind of hinting, not so discreetly, that she doesn't think he's that attractive.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm trying to get to know you as a person, even though there's not physical looks that are real. And she's like, what do you think about that? And he takes it like a champ.
Yeah, she's like, it's on the inside that counts. Like, it's not that's what's on the outside. And he's like, yeah, totally.
And then she circles back like 3 or 4 more times just to remind him in case he didn't get it the first time. And to the point the guy talks out, he's like, okay, I get it. I'm beast and you're beauty. Just putting it to let her know, yes, I get it. You think I'm hideous and I'm not your type, which is so strange to me. And also it's worth talking about, Marni, that everyone has their own cup of tea, and I don't know about you, but it's funny. Even as soon as he walked on, Emily goes, "Oh, he's really attractive." Before he even opened his mouth, she didn't even know. She didn't know any about his, it was on the spectrum or anything. Just hands down, blanketed. He's a good looking guy. It's so interesting that some people, have just completely different. He didn't have that long Solomon hair.
Yeah, well, Solly is like got a surfer vibe, right? He's cool. Yeah. He's like less nerdy.
Yeah.
Right. And what's interesting is like Adon is a little bit more like Dani, right?
Yeah,
and they're both kind of nerding out on the character voices and things like that. So I think what we learned from Dani is really interesting is that we can sabotage. We have to get really clear on what we're looking for, and that we have to really find what is really going to be the essence of the true connection. Because
now you sound like Solomon now.
Well,
yes, of this magic.
Yeah. But you know what? It's really interesting because it's like, what does Dani really need, right? Because if Dani is like self-sufficient and has her great business, like what does she really, really need in a partner? And why? What's the why of the the animation? And I think that, and I don't remember, did the dating coach didn't work with her, right? Or the coach?
I don't think so. Yeah. Did she? No.
I think with a little coaching, Dani could have made a connection. And then what we find out is that she did circle back with Solly again, and it fizzled. And I think she was gonna continue to go on another date with the Don.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was a lot to learn. Okay, let's talk about Subodh and Abbey, because they are definitely a different sort of, like, in terms of high functioning autism, they're going to be like less functioning. They both need a lot more support. And Abbey, does Abbey get coaching?
They both got coaching.
They both got coaching, right? Which was really, really amazing. And they are just out there having the dating experience be completely different. What do you think that Abbey and Subodh did that really worked, that our neurotypical listeners can totally learn from, Chris?
I think Subodh's, I think he's brave. And I think he's brave. Yeah. I think that give him crazy props. I think I think they both have pretty strong esteems and worth, and unlike the what was the gal who's like, I don't know if I want to mention what I have. Yeah, was it Carolyn?
Kaylin, I think.
Kaylin. Yeah, I think it was Kaylin. You're right. I think they were both very comfortable in their skin, and just had a lot of great family support, and they seemed to have a lot of self-love, and they were just more down to earth. And I don't want to say, because it comes across bad. I don't want to say less picky or anything like that, but I guess, I don't know, more grounded on, they had their what's the word Marni used for when you're the things that you have to have in life, your
I think that they had their non-negotiables, and they were discerning but not picky.
Exactly. Yep, they were discerning, not picky. Okay, this is nice. But yeah, they didn't have a billion of them out there where you got to be in animation and run your own company and have your own PhD degree and all these things. Have long flowing hair, everything has to line up. Yeah, 100%. I felt like they had a smaller, more realistic, and they were open and curious versus Dani. I felt like a goddamn interview where she was just reading off in ways to try to check people off and filter them out.
Yeah, I feel like also Subodh and Abbey went on really fun dates. They went on dates that were interactive, that really got them talking about their interests. Like they went to the zoo and they both loved animals and they flew a kite, and like that kind of broke down the awkward barrier. So I think they did a really good job too of just picking dates that really suited their interests and got them out of their comfort zone in a really nice way.
I love that point, because we always talk about like going out to dinner is probably like the least awesome get to know you possibility for dates, yet we continue to kind of make that be like the penultimate, like I'm going to dinner.
Rayna, that's a great point, because also it's worth, I think what also supports that is all their goals, the things they talk about, even if it was Fantasyland and saying I'm gonna do this and control the world or travel the world, and immediately like on date 1 or 2 or whatever they're talking about. But like Abbey, she was like Hurricane Harbor. I just want to go to Hurricane. That's my dream goal. Like, awesome. That's freaking way more fun than sitting across at a table, like you're saying, Marni, and having this awkward interview style date. Let's go to Hurricane Harbor, baby.
Yeah, that was, and what I really love too is that the coach this was such a great activity, and I really think people who are neurotypical men and women could practice this. What the coach does is she gets Abbey on the floor and she makes a conversation like right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to say something and I'm going to pass the ball to you. And then you say something and you ask a question. And I think that when people get nervous on a date, especially if they're trying to show something about themselves, like I'm smart or I'm financially this or I'm well traveled or whatever it is, what can happen is you forget to ask questions or you forget to pass the conversation back and forth. And I love that the coach teaches them this skill, because you can see on the dates with Abbey and David and Subodh and Rachel that when they do that, there's flow, right? Like they're literally being intentional. Like, now I'm going to share something and now I'm going to ask you a question. And it sounds so basic, but I think it really models that very basic communication skill can really create connection. What do you guys think about that?
I totally agree. I also think even stuff like Subodh and Rachel, when Rachel was like, I love TV, do you? And he was like, nope, next question. Like,
Can we change the topic, please? Can we change the topic?
Making sure, even if it's not your favorite thing, you're figuring out what the other person is interested in.
And his sister says that. He says, like, you can't, because she's like, we don't have it. He says, we don't, she doesn't like, she likes TV and I don't like TV. And the sister is like, well, what can you find about that is interesting that you can throw back to her? And then on the next date, he implements it. And I think what's great about these kids is that these adults is that they're super coachable. Yeah. They're not going into it being like, I know how to do this. They're like, I want to make a connection. Teach me the skills. And I think that one of the biggest urban legends out there is that just because you're neurotypical means that you're supposed to know how to make social connections and be comfortable and create intimacy. And so I think that these basic skills that they get taught are going to really be useful for anybody. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it is interesting how
as plastic they are, and how open they are to being molded. And I bet you wish most of your clients were as
Totally.
easily.
There's like no arguing.
It's like, oh, goddamn it. I know, because I've been doing it this way and this way. I'm like, yeah, it's not working either. But these people are like, okay, I'll try. Remember to pull up the chair, even though I keep forgetting 14 times in a row. Why I need to pull up the chair doesn't make any sense. But okay, I'll stand by the chair and kind of sort of pull it out.
I love that. The other thing that's really great is they, when Subodh's mom is talking to him about why he's nice to the waitress, right? And she's asking, do you know why? Right? Because the way you treat other people lets your date know something about you. And again, super basic. But for those of you who are listening, it's like, do you respond to a text in a kind way? Do you rule someone in, or are you sort of, blaming any guy who says something for the same things the last guy did that rubbed you the wrong way, right? Like, what are you showing about who you are through your actions? Not just on the date, but in between times of the date.
Also, I think that just to touch on what you said a second ago, Marni, what I love about the show is how it shows how neurotypical people, what happens when, for example, that Abbey was wonderful. She was a wonderful example of how when we get nervous, we tend to, I know I do for sure, talk too fast and maybe dominate a conversation, just kind of word vomit. And she still did it throughout while dating David, but luckily David was, able to sit there and I don't remember the beach scenes, but she would interrupt him like 4 times. She'd ask him a question before he could answer. She would just hijack and start talking about Disney and lions and animation or whatever. And it's nothing wrong with it because it's all from a pure place because she's so excited. She just can't hold it back. And like you said, sometimes people are really excited to show off when they're dating, some of the attributes that they have to bring to a relationship to make sure that they are liked, and they want to be seen and appreciated. But I thought that she was just a wonderful example because dating can be so nervous. And she was a great example. And I don't know, like you need to get that ball out, Marni, and roll it around.
I do need to roll it around. I think it's such a great idea. So let's also talk about boundaries and saying yes and saying no, because I love the scene when David brings Abbey. First of all, I love David. He brought her a little gift every time.
Oh my God.
So cute. It was so sweet.
And Emily's like elbowing me. You don't bring me shit.
I know, I want some jelly beans. Yeah. So I love this. So David brings Abbey some candy and they're sitting on the beach and then he's like, so can I have some of that candy I brought you? And I love Abbey. She's like, no. You can't. And he's like, oh, well, I thought caring is sharing. And she's like, no. And then but what's cool is this is really amazing. And I think we can all learn from this. David doesn't take it personally.
No,
he says to himself out loud, because that's what they do. Which is, he says, if I ate that candy, it would probably upset my stomach, right? Or I'd be really thirsty and that wouldn't be good, right? Really
thirsty.
Yeah. So he makes it be okay instead of making it be about him. And I think if there were 2 neurotypical people on that date you said, can I have some of your thing, or can I have a bite of your macaroni and cheese that I didn't order? And the guy goes, oh no. And you'd be like, oh, he's rude, or he's not interested in me, or he thinks I'm sick, or whatever it is. What I love about it is that they're setting boundaries and they are able to say no. And David is just really like, okay. And he moves on. And I think so many of the people who are listening would just give the candy and then go back to their friend and be like, can you believe that guy brought me a gift, but then he asked for some of it? Like, what did you, instead of just saying no.
Couldn't agree more. No, I definitely wouldn't be able to take it on the chin like David is. And I like all these, all seasons of this, Love on the Spectrum. Yeah, that's one thing I admired about all of the people is how they're able to not get their egos involved and wrap it up and make it all about. It's a beautiful quality.
It is really amazing. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about before we go is I love that these people break up with dignity and respect. And so when Dani is breaking up with Solly, it's really hard for her because she knows it's going to hurt his feelings. But they do it, and I think that when we talk to clients about having courageous conversations or breaking up or telling someone you're not interested or your concerns are. They're really afraid to do it. And I think what this show shows us is that anybody who really wants to can communicate, and it might be messy and it might not go the way you want it, but it's the intention behind it that is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Even, all of them. And that is rare. Like nobody ghosts each other on the show, which is, and when there's, it's just, it's so, I don't know. Do you ever, I don't know, Martin, if you're ever like, hey, are you for, even if you had one date, do you support the person letting them know, even if just one date, letting them know and say, hey, it wasn't a match?
Yeah, for sure. If somebody asks you out on a second date, like I always joke, like, I'll talk to you later or I'll call you later. It doesn't mean goodbye. Right. And I think that's a really, really important thing. And I think that when people just say, yeah, I'll call you later or I'll talk to you later or yeah, thanks, that was great, but they don't really want to go out again, I think that's not being honest and it's not fair. And so I think wherever you are on the spectrum or not, it's really important to be forthright and kind of treat your date the way you would want to be treated. I always say like a high quality person that is looking for what you're looking for will communicate even when it's quote unquote bad news.
Even at the end of some of the dates when they were like, I had a lot of fun, am I going to see you again? Like some of them were like, honestly, I think we should just be friends. Like,
yes. So James is our medieval our passion for all things medieval. And Steve is the guy who's in his 60s. And they both go out on some dates. And I love that James's date, what happens after the medieval date?
He asked her, if she wants to go on another date, and she says what Rayna said. He said, I think possibly, but as I think we should be friends, right?
I know. I really wish she would have kept dating James. I really liked him. He was like my underdog.
James he is so great, and that's Rayna. That's not something you see typically very often, or I don't know. I've never done that. Have you ever done that?
I told somebody that. I am not that brave. I know.
It's me neither. Me neither. I get so nervous when they do it, and I'm like, oh my god, the breakup's like, I get so nervous. Like, it's so much easier just to say, hey, I'm sorry, I've been busy with work, or lost your number, or you come up with some bullshit excuse. And these guys are so brave and just so admirable about all these people on the show.
Yeah, and Steve goes out on a date with a woman who, the second date where they go out on the boat, which I thought was so amazing. And I was really loving the fact that she asks him out and I don't know if he's not picking up the cue. So the cameraman's like, Steve, I think she's asking you out on a second date. And he says, I have to think about that. Which is so amazing. Yeah. Again, and he ends up saying that, he's not physically attracted to her. Although I thought they would have been a cute couple. I don't know. I wish that they would have been a match.
She did. Ladies, note to self, when you're bored during COVID, don't shave your head off just for fun. That's what I got shaved head. Oh, did anything happen? No, I was just during COVID and I was bored. So,
But what's great is that she, and I don't remember her name, but she put that shaved head photo on her profile. And her reasoning was, if you like me with the shaved head, then I know, that you're really in it just for me. And so I think Steve had his assistant helping him date, which was amazing. He got a little dating coaching too. And he probably didn't take all that into consideration when he went out on the date. But I love, again, the way they are able to just sort of be honest in the moment. And I think that we can all learn from that, is that just say the truth, because when you don't say what you feel and you don't say no, you're assuming the other person can't handle the truth, which underlying is kind of disrespectful. You're like, you're not adult enough to handle my no. So I'm always like, you know what? Respect the person enough to trust that they can handle it however they handle it.
Yeah. Also being on the other end, thinking someone else wants to go on another date because they were vague. is difficult, I would rather just hear from the person. Yeah, honestly, it's fine. I don't need to go on another date.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the honesty. The last thing I want to say about this show and what we really learn from it, especially since we're about ready to head into Love Island and The Bachelorette, is that, all of the things and the insecurities and the fears that these people on the spectrum are saying and sharing are really what makes us all human at the core. And it does take a lot of courage to be as honest and as real and as authentic as they are. And it would be really amazing if you could take what's going on in those other shows, and put it through the Love on the Spectrum filter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that is a real reflection of us as our highest selves and also us as our wounded selves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really, and that's what's so beautiful to watch, is because we see a little bit of ourselves, even though we're neurotypical, in these people that are neurodivergent.
Yeah. And I love how Rayna pointed out, and I too, said, even when I've been in a situation where I'm, the one who's ultimately, has the information to say, I'm not interested in a second date. Even then, gosh dang, I'll chicken out and come, weasel out of being brave and assuming. And it's so, I guess it's good to remember, if you're on the receiving end of that, that it's not, if you don't hear from them or whatever, then not to make assumptions and there's anything wrong or broken with you, because there's so many reasons that oftentimes it's dating scary on all ends, even whether you're wanting to go on a next date or not wanting to go on a next date with a person. And it can be scary and it can be, there's so many, factors, and to do what these guys do and not take shit personally. I know that's easier said than done. But these guys, I think they're just awesome examples of how to just love yourself through it without expectations and filling in the blanks, that I think a lot of neurotypical people do.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting help. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they really show how you can get help, whether it's from your family members in some of their cases, or actually getting a coach. This stuff that creating connection and intimacy wherever you fall, whether you're neurodivergent or not, it's tricky stuff. And that if you're coachable, you can learn what you need to learn to make a great connection, which is why there's no shame in asking for help. So thank you both for being here.
Hell yeah.
It's been a really fun little spring of binging, and we have a lot coming down the pipeline with Love Island, which I'm super excited about, and The Bachelorette. And of course, Chris, that I'm less excited about that, as I always am.
And we still, Rayna, I'm trying to get her on Dabble. Are You the One? But it moves a little. It's a little fast and heated for your old Marni Battista. We're watching the season 8 right now, which is it's mostly like a bisexual whole cast, and so holy moly, just imagine double the problems. It's fantastic TV.
Well, I'm gonna hold out for what's coming here this beginning week, but we will be back with Chris and maybe Dr. Emily, and maybe we'll get Reality Rayna on the show again. But ready for a summer of love and what you all can do, because wherever you fall, neurotypical or not, it's always important to life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to dwdvip.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.